Hello, everyone. Your host, Cy Smith, independent candidate for mayor, Gary, Indiana, November 3rd, 2015. The purpose of this video is to talk about the power that we have and making sure that we don't let this opportunity slip. I'm going to try to keep this video very brief so that you can share with other people as well. But I want to talk about how $6,000 will change the world. $6,000 will change the world. And I say that because the key is how we get to the $6,000. And then, of course, it's some things we got to do to maintain that, but just $6,000 to change the world. Doubt and inaction has hurt us in our community for a very, very long time. I'm approximating 75 years of slow and deadly progress for primarily African Americans. 75 years of slow and deadly progress. Think about that. This is 2015 now. So you minus 15 years from this year, and it takes you to the new millennium in 2000. And then if you minus 60 years from 2000, it takes you to the 1940s. During the 1940s and the 1960s, what we saw was white flight. After World War II, we saw people create suburban America. And what that did was that took African Americans and made them become isolated in their own community. And I know a lot of people felt like that's when we were united and together. And I wasn't alive, so I can't speak to that. But I have a feeling that if something was done because of external force caused it, then I don't think it's as powerful as we think it is. If we chose to be there, then that's a different story. But if the outside forces forced our hand, then we were just tolerating each other versus really caring, growing, and loving and being there for each other. So 1940 to 1960s, suburban America was created. During the 1960s to the 1980s, what we saw was isolation in our community, and then we was allowed to starve. We was allowed to let those communities deteriorate. That's when they came up with ghetto, urban decay and ghettos. And then what we saw was heavy-handed force of law enforcement. And then in the 1980s to the 2000s, what we saw was the drug war, and we saw an explosion of the private prison industry. Now, during the 60s and 80s, that's when a lot of people was getting locked up, and that's when laws were being created and crafted to ensure long-term of that. And then in the 80s to 2000s, we saw the private prisons, and that changed the whole game. So after the 2000s, what we saw was 9/11. That changed the entire world. So after 9/11, of course, a lot of people lost their jobs. Whole industries were collapsed. And so, of course, African Americans were at the back end of that because of that. And so now, President Obama, with the help of a lot of people, we've stabilized the economy for a lot of people. And, of course, African Americans are on the back end of that. So now, with the economic stability being somewhat there, now you have the mental drain of going through all of that. 75 years of slow and deadly progress. So I gave that little history lesson to talk about where we at now. For 20 years, God allowed me to go door to door, block to block, build relationships in Chicago and across 20 other cities. For those who don't know, I'm a Navy guy. I spent time in Kenya, Nairobi, Africa. And what I saw there, I said, I won't complain in America, and I'm going to work to come back to Kenya and help the people that I don't think. I think they have so much appreciation that we don't have. And I think for that, they will be very grateful for us to do what we can to support them. So at any rate, $6,000. What would $6,000 do? Think about this. We have a system that's set up where we have 20 U.S. cities linked to 20 African countries, linked to 20 different career fields, linked to a daily living habit that's going to change our conditions as a whole. So all of that linkage that we have right now, who's funding it? And if we're looking for grants and government to fund it, then that means they control it. God allowed me to operate this process for 20 years independent, meaning the people. You guys believe in what we're doing and support it. So no one can stop this. So right now, $6,000 represents 500 people donating $1 a month, which is $12 a year. $6,000 represent a unity of 500 people being on the same page economically. The daily living habit of Wednesday means we spend money internally with people who care about our conditions, no different than Greek Town, Chinatown, and Little Italy. If we do that, we can have a group of our people go into business knowing that at least once a week we're going to be concentrating and thinking about how to support them and help grow their businesses. If we support their businesses, they can hire. If they hire, that's less people unemployed. That's less people going to jail. And so it's a ripple effect to that. The key here is doubt and disbelief. And I get it. People doubt. People doubted President Obama when he said he was going to run. And they later got on the bandwagon and got on board. And I reckon it'll be the same thing. People doubt what I'm talking about. But as they see success, as society say what I'm talking about is the key, then more people come on board. But I'm asking you to be a pioneer. Don't wait till what society say. I'm telling you now, we have a system in place. The only thing missing is the people putting the money behind it. And when I say that, I mean everybody. It's $0.25 a week. It's $1 a month. It's $12 for the year. We can do that. There's over 1 million African Americans in Chicago. We can't have half of them doing $12 a year, which would be $500,000 every single year that is put back into your neighborhood, into your community. So it's 3 things that I want you to take away from this video. The first one is we need $6,000 as a down payment of sorts. And this $6,000 won't go away. When we get ready to, when we accomplish working on Gary, getting the infrastructure there, we're going to get 500 people, raise $6,000, 500 people, go to Detroit, do the same thing there. When you get ready, we're going to have 500 different people come together, $6,000, we're going to go to Milwaukee, do the same thing. We have to have a model so people can look at it and say, look at this unity. Look how they supporting businesses. Look how they lowering the unemployment rate. Look how they giving everyone a role. And I think that's the key, is we can change the world. Africa is linked to this. Every child you meet with us, they can tell you which African country they link to. And the purpose of that is so that they can have a global perspective, just like our children from Ireland, and the Irish here in America, just like the people in China, people in Korea, they all have their linkages to their homeland, which stabilizes them psychologically. And we had to build that since it was severed when we were brought here to America. So it's nothing racial about what I'm talking about, but all America needs this to work. Because when you look at what's happening, a lot of times it's a drain on our resources if we locking up more people. But there are people who benefit from that, so they're not going to say that. So anyway, I see I'm at the 7-minute mark, so I need to cut this video short. $6,000. Please make the sacrifice, you guys. We can change the world today if we had everyone give their money. We had to get to the $6,000 mark, and after that, it will be a $1 a month for others. Every single month, we're going to create jobs, put everyone to work, block by block. This is Syron Smith, independent candidate for mayor of Gary, Indiana. Thank you.